Many would say it's holiday season. Others would say it's the winter season's about to start. Well, in my world, it's the capital gain loss season. It's the time when I sit back, go through as many portfolios as I can, as all of them, and if I can get to all of them, and I don't get around to all of them because not everybody has a capital gain that that we need to be concerned about. But there are many that have capital gains that I try to offset with capital losses. Now, let's understand what's happening. Whenever you buy an investment and that investment goes up, when you go to sell it, you will have a gain and you have to pay tax on that gains. And obviously, for most of us, it'll be still 50% of that gain is taxable, 50% you don't have to pay tax on. And the 50% you pay tax, you will pay at your marginal tax rate. For others, for corporations or trust accounts, that could be as much as 67% if that inclusion rate gets raised. They voted on it. It looks like it passed, but I don't think that inclusion rate has settled, meaning I don't think it's gone through the proper channels in government yet, but it probably will by the time we go to file our tax return. So for the most part, for those of us that have less capital gains than 250,000, which are pretty much the majority of us, we're going to pay 50% of those gains at your marginal tax rate as tax. What can lower those capital gains? Capital losses. So if you have a position in your portfolio, non-registered account, and you were to sell it for a capital loss, that would offset and go against or be subtracted from your capital gain. So that's what I do right now. I look at portfolios and I try to figure out where the capital losses are and do I want to sell that investment? Because remember, when I'm selling it, investors losing money. So I guess the first question is, when do you sell an investment for a capital loss versus not take the loss and continue to own it? Well, my opinion, I think two things. One, if it's an investment that you believe probably won't come back or start moving higher again for a long time. Keep in mind, whenever you realize a capital loss, in order for you to write it off against your gains, you cannot buy back that same investment for a period of 30 days. So when you sell something and you believe that, okay, that investment's probably not going to go higher for the next 30 days, it's probably going to stay where it is, I think that's the time when you can take a loss on that investment, and then you have the opportunity in 30 days to buy it back. The other time I think you sell an investment is when you think that investment no longer fits the profile of the investor, or you think the investment itself, the thesis of owning it, is no longer valid, that you think that investment, I should say, is not worth owning again, has a loss, you sell it, it offsets against the capital gain. So that's the strategy with respect to capital gain loss selling season. But what I've been finding for many investors of mine, and what I imagine people are finding for many investors as well, many of their investors as well, is the idea that there really isn't much in the way of capital gains right now. Sorry, capital losses right now for individual investors. We're finding that all I seem to see is capital gains. Our first chart here will show this. We show all the different sectors of the S&P 500. And as you look year to date, all you see is green. Even a 3-month, you have a couple of red numbers, but for the most part, every sector is positive. So where are you going to find capital losses to offset capital gains? There aren't any, or there aren't many. Yes, there may be one or two here and there, but it's been very difficult to lower that capital gain that an investor has this year. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a great problem to have. It just means that everybody's making money. There are no losses, all gains. But of course, living in Canada, you're going to have to pay some tax on those gains. And that's what I've been finding with respect to capital gain losses this year, that investors, especially if they've taken money out this past year for whatever reason, to fix up your home, to go on a vacation, whatever the reasons may be, you're going to have a capital gain. And unfortunately, if it's a fairly large one, probably isn't much we can do with respect to capital losses. But again, keep in mind, my mom always said, if you have gains or if you're making money and you're paying taxes, that's a good thing. Don't be worried about the taxes. It just means that as an investor or as a person in general, you're making money. So overall, capital gain loss season, in my opinion, for me, it's going to go on for another week and a half until we come right up to the holidays. Be looking for any way to lower capital gains for investors. And if all of you listening or watching today I think you should be doing the same as well.